श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ श्री राम जय जय राम। 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 जय जय राम। जय जय राम। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। अतुलितबलधामं हेमशैलाभदेहं दनुजवनकृशानुं ज्ञानिनामग्रगण्यं सकलगुणनिधानं वानराणामधीशं रघुपतिप्रियभक्तं वातजातं नमामि। रघुपतिप्रियभक्तं वातजातं नमामि। ॐ श्री हनुमते नमः। ध्यायामि चिन्मयानन्दं गुरुदेवं महामतिं प्रेमपूर्णं क्रियाशीलं सदा लोकहिते रतं कृपालुं सुन्दराकारं समर्थं सत्यदर्शिनं वाचा तत्त्वप्रकाशिन्या शोकमोहविनाशिनम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। हरि ओम, सुप्रभातम। Yesterday we saw how Ananya Bhakti is the destination, and for that most important is Jnanam. And to gain that Jnanam, Saguna Bhakti is very, very important. From Saguna Bhakti, we move towards Nirguna Bhakti, and Nirguna Bhakti alone can give Ananya Bhakti. And one very important guide which we have to lead us towards that higher destination is our scriptures, or are our scriptures. And among them, Ramayana, Bhagavatam, all these are extremely time-tested texts, gaining the knowledge of which one can definitely reach that ultimate destination of life. What is this bhakti? Bhakti is so much talked about everywhere, and everyone thinks bhakti is very simple. Go to temple, etc., etc., etc. Or do some little puja at home. If that is bhakti which can lead to Ananya Bhakti, then everybody can take it. Everybody can just do it. But that alone is not bhakti. Then what really is bhakti? What takes us away from Bhagavan is love. And what takes us towards Bhagavan is also love. Think. What takes us away from Bhagavan is love, and what takes us towards Bhagavan is also love. But that love which takes us to the higher, in the sense, love towards the higher in any field of activity, makes that field very, very sensible and successful. Love towards the higher, when I say, from the Laukika standpoint, love towards all the small petty things and beings is something which is attachment, which is addiction, which is distraction, and they are all impermanent. We all know this. Every Vedanta's talk, every satsang, every person constantly, continuously, consistently tells that what? Everything is impermanent. Thus, love towards the lower is called passion, is called attachment, is called infatuation, is called distraction, is a disturbance. The same love, when it is directed towards a higher purpose, even in the Laukika standpoint again, towards a goal set, like for example, a scientist, very oft quoted example. A scientist's love towards discovery, towards invention, at his own table, that is bhakti. Bhakti towards science. A musician, for example, his love towards gaining the musical notes right and playing that beautiful music with lots of love towards it is bhakti. A student studying his or her own subjects with all focus in it for the sake of becoming a role model in the society is bhakti. An individual working in his own office, expecting nothing but doing that work sincerely with love and care in his work, is bhakti. A housewife taking care of the husband and children and the home, and if there are elders at home, taking care of them, is bhakti. In fact, in Shastra, there is no vidhanam of bhakti given to women. But now they have to do it because of the distractions. Otherwise, swadharme nidhanam shreyaha is bhakti. Uncompromised commitment towards a higher goal, towards one's own duty, towards one's own swadharma is bhakti. This is from the common standpoint. From the religious standpoint, A person committing himself towards thinking about God, having love for Bhagavan, is bhakti. This is commonly known but not rightly known. The knowledge what we have is going to temple, probably performing a Shodashopachara Puja Vidhi, or watching some Ramayana, Mahabharat, etc., serials. All these is what we talk of bhakti. They are bhakti, but a very, very initial preliminary level. One has to graduate from there to have love for Bhagavan alone. In the preliminary level, love for Bhagavan is one among the many love for many other things also. But the graduation there is slowly, all the other love drops, and one's love towards Bhagavan, one's devotion towards Bhagavan increases very gradually, very gradually. The sudden outburst of bhakti are all in the same fashion, it will go away also. What is required is a very constant, consistent, steady upgradation, if we may use a common term, modern technology. Upgradation meaning what? I drop all the other desire, love towards things and beings, and I validate that love for Bhagavan as the most important, most needed. This is a higher form of bhakti. Saguna bhakti is very important. Very many of us listen to a lot of discourses. Not that we listen to it properly. Here and there, by mistakes, some statements go to our ears and start thinking, all this Saguna bhakti, all are not important. Swamiji, the higher self. We only talk about it, we don't even think about it. The higher bhakti is of course Nirguna bhakti, but to get to that state, one must start with Saguna bhakti. And Saguna bhakti is very easier at the beginning stage because that bhakti will give us a direction to the mind. What is actually required is that direction to the mind, because the mind is directionless. It has got dissipated its energy into all directions of winds and fancies of the world. This directionless mind must be given a direction. It must be channelized. It must be oriented. In every college or school, when the academic year begins, they have what is called as orientation program. What is this orientation program? A program which gives the indication to the student how to orient his or her mind to the study of that particular academic subject. Similarly, we need to orient our mind from the dissipated energies and give them a direction, and this can be given only through Saguna Bhakti. Therefore, Saguna Bhakti is extremely important for sadhakas. Then the question comes, Swamiji, till when should I have Saguna Bhakti? As long as you have this question, you must have. As long as the questioner dissolves, Saguna Bhakti is important. Take the example of Acharya Shankara, an exponent of Advaita Vedanta. One who says there is no second at all. Ekameva advitiyam Brahma tad ahameva asmi. I am that Brahman. If the knowledge takes us to that extent where I categorically say I am Brahman, then where is the need for Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Khuda, Allah, Jesus, whatever you want? What is the need? Think. If Acharya Shankara has given us this greatest Advaitam philosophy, then you will see Shankara also performed puja daily. Look at his stotrams on all devatas. Stuti on all devatas he has written. For what? Because you can believe anybody in life, you can never believe your own mind. Therefore, Saguna Bhakti is a must as long as the questioner remains. Now, Saguna Bhakti takes the sadhaka from Laukika Chintana to Paramarthika Chintana. Then the question comes, Saguna Bhakti, you said, Swamiji, which God is better? Rama is better, Krishna is better, Shiva is better, Hanumanji is better, Ganapati is better, or Devi is better. Which God is better? Because there seems to be lots of gods at various levels. If you go down south in the South Canara region, you will find Bhuta also worshipped as God. Bhuta here does not mean ghost. Bhuta is one Grama Devata. Like that, there are plenty of gods. Every road has got a god. And then the best joke is whether this area Ganapati is better or that area Ganapati is better, or this city's Ganapati is better, or should I go to that city and worship? All these are people who have not understood the very concept of God. One need not go anywhere. Rama, Krishna, Govinda, Gopala, Khuda, Allah, Jesus, Shiva, whatever you want, every God who is otherwise called Ishtadevata is available in our own heart. Through what? Through our own qualities. A person who is a very playful person takes up Krishna as his Ishtadevata. Why? He enjoys the pranks of Krishna. He enjoys the Leela of Krishna. There is another person who is more committed to the physical strength, goes to the gym in the morning and develops all muscles, etc. Probably he will have Hanumanji as a better connect. And we have our Ganapati. Some people love Ganapati. Why? Because they enjoy food. And Ganapati with Modaka in hand is very inspiring. And there are other people who say, no, Devi is better. Why? Devi is mother, the representation of motherly qualities. Motherly qualities means what? She will give everything. So like that we have concepts of God. Whatever it may be, pick one of them and commit yourself to that God. This Saguna Bhakti is very, very useful for a distracted mind. Yena kena prakarena manah Krishne niveshayet, says the Shruti. मनः कृष्णे निवेशयेत्, मनः रामे निवेशयेत्, or manah devim निवेशयेत्, whatever, whichever is your Ishta Devata. But the purpose here is the mind should be withdrawn from all the whims and fancies of the world and directed towards that Bhagavan. This direction towards a particular Bhagavan definitely will help in the improvement of the quality and texture of the mind. And the mind becomes purer. Such a pure mind alone will give us direction to the next milestone, if we may say so, even in the path of bhakti, in the path of sadhana. Having said that, we find there are so many Santa Purushas who have their own Ishta Devata. And you will find so many Santa Purushas directing people towards their Ishta Devata. How? Not by telling others, you do this, you do this, you do this, but they live such a life. They live such a life in such a fashion that they become an inspiration to all other devotees. This inspiration is required for a mind which is caught up in the world. And therefore, one must take up to all such great devotees, and while learning about those devotees, getting to know the lifestyle of those devotees, etc., you will find the mind is also directed. Mind is set to a path of thinking. Santa Tulsidas ji, who is the author of Tulsi Ramayana, or otherwise called Ramacharita Manas, takes Sri Ramchandra ji as the Ishta Devata, and right from childhood he enjoys the very thought of Rama. He definitely is given that Vedic knowledge, but at a time comes when Bhagavan Shivaji, Mata Parvati gives a direction to the mind of Tulsidas ji to write this Ramayana. And it is called Ramacharita Manas. And it is most popular as Tulsi Ramayana. Why it is popular as Tulsi Ramayana? Because Tulsidas ji has written. Otherwise, Ramacharita Manasa is a very big nama. Tulsi Ramayana became more popular because of its simplicity. Tulsidas ji, while writing this Ramayana, has given several pieces of knowledge in terms of stuti on Sri Ramchandra ji, and in terms of lot of knowledge, lot of thoughts for thinking. What do you mean by thoughts for thinking? Every sentence in Tulsi Ramayana is a beautiful sentence which takes us towards the higher, which brings in the beauty of Bhagavan. Think. Not taking more time, directly we'll go now to the subject matter. We know the background of Ramayana. We all know the very story of Ramayana. Sita ji has been kidnapped. Ramchandra ji, Lakshman ji are in search of Sita ji. Ramchandra ji and Lakshman ji arrive at Matanga Maharishi's ashrama, where Mata Shabari is staying and waiting for Sri Ramchandra ji for years. Not days, not months, for years and decades she has been waiting with the same kind of devotion. Our devotion, you understand. Our devotion are utility oriented devotion. And we are not ready to change the objects what we desire to that Bhagavan. We are using Bhagavan to get the objects. So Bhagavan becomes a means for us, whereas objects becomes the end. But in bhakti, Bhagavan is the end. In fact, no object is required. All that is required is our simple, uncontaminated heart. That is all what Bhagavan wants. Tulsidas ji writes so beautifully that wonderful satsanga between Bhagavan Sri Ramchandra ji and Mata Shabari ji. Mata Shabari ji has been blessed and advised by her guru, Matanga Maharishi, who tells her, you wait here. She wanted to go along with him. She wanted that liberation. She wanted to go along with her guru. But Matanga Maharishi says, no. You have been blessed to get the darshan of Bhagavan himself. Therefore, you stay here in the ashram and wait for Sri Ramchandra ji to come. And when Ramchandra ji comes, serve him. And after you serve him, take the blessings of Bhagavan Sri Ramchandra ji and you will become ready. You will become fit enough to come and reach me. Then, with his blessings, you will be liberated. And Matanga Maharshi leaves to his abode. And Shabariji, from then, every day, she thinks, today, my Ramchandra ji will come. Today, my Bhagavan will come. And she prepares the kutira, she prepares the ashram for inviting and welcoming Bhagavan. The preparation is not with a sigh. The preparation is never with a doubt. For years, remember. The preparation is with so much of love, so much of devotion, so much of care. Mataji, every day she will pluck fruits, check. There's so much of debates over this activity. She eats, she bites that fruit to check whether it is sweet or sour. If it is sour, she throws it away. All those sweet ones she collects every day. She collects fruits from the garden, flowers from the garden, and she prepares a garland for Ramchandra ji. She prepares the kutira for him to come and sit, enjoy the fruits that she gives. Every day she thinks, today my Rama will come. Look at that consistency. Look at the perseverance. Look at the depth in her love for Bhagavan. We also claim that we are devotees. We also claim that we perform puja. What is our attitude? How consistent we are. Today, we have no time for Bhagavan. Bhagavan has given us 24 hours a day, but we don't have 24 seconds for Bhagavan. Is it not? In so many places, one namaskaram and we run away. Why? No time. For decades to wait. In fact, according to Shastra, it is not decades, it was century. Those days it is said they were lived for centuries. Waiting for Bhagavan. That devotion, where the love is only for Bhagavan and nothing else, brings Bhagavan to her. Think. Brings blessings of the Guru to her. And the Guru's blessings, the Guru says, Bhagavan will come. You be here. Wait for him. And Shabari waits and Bhagavan comes. When Bhagavan comes, even the pathway is beautifully decorated with the garden flowers. So that the stones, those days there is no, it was only mud path. So stones should not prick Bhagavan's soft legs. So she cleans every day. And she beautifully places flowers for him. And when Bhagavan comes, she welcomes him, and then Bhagavan sits. And after serving him with fruits, etc., etc., finally the time comes when she asks Bhagavan for liberation. And it is at this point Bhagavan gives her the greatest knowledge, which is very popularly, very beautifully called Navadha Bhakti. The same thing in Bhagavatam is called as Navavidha Bhakti, and in Adhyatma Ramayana also it is called as Navavidha Bhakti. In Tulsi Ramayana, Acharya calls it as Navadha Bhakti, all meaning the same. In the Bhagavatam, it is one shloka. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoh Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. Shravanam, listening. Kirtanam, singing the glories of Vishnoho, Bhagavan Sri Vishnu. Here it is Vishnu. If you are Ishtadevata is Shiva, you may take Shiva as the Lord for your Upasana. Vishnoho. Smaranam, remembering. Why remembering? Because we forget every day. We forget him all the time. In fact, it's a very interesting point. In everybody's house, wherever you turn, one Bhagavan photo will be kept. In spite of it, we forget him. Why? Because our love for the Laukika Vastu is so much that in spite of reminders, we don't think of Bhagavan. Smaranam, Padasevanam. Padasevanam is what? Serving. Archanam, offering. Performing archana. Vandanam, namaskaraha, surrender. Dasyam, having the attitude of dasya bhava, as a servant of the Lord. Vandanam, dasyam, sakhyam, one can take the Lord to be his or her friend. Bhagavan is so wonderful. You can take him any way you want. He will say, yes, I am there for you. Think, this you can't do with people. Every person is related with only one relationship. Think, whereas Bhagavan, you can relate him in whichever way you want. He says, okay, I am available. And what is actually required is the ninth form, Atmanivedanam. Atmanivedanam is what? Completely surrender one's own ego. Once that ego is surrendered, then nothing remains. The devotee, the so-called devotee, also merges with Bhagavan. These are the 9 forms of bhakti given in Bhagavatam. Similar thing in different words are given in Adhyatma Ramayana as well as Tulsi Ramayana. Now, we will see one by one, both in the words of Tulsidas ji with reference to Adhyatma Ramayana and Bhagavatam. The question comes, Swamiji, is 9 ways of bhakti, is all of them required? No. If you gain conviction to one, the others will automatically add up. Automatically you will get committed to the other forms of bhakti. But that one is very, very important. That one must be chosen properly. Why? It is for the mind to get connected properly. Each one have our own way of thinking. Each one of us have our own way of, connecting with the Lord. Whichever way we connect, we pick up that which is close to us, which is dear to us. And with that, we can definitely reach Bhagavan. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan gives several ways, several occasions where he confirms, Name bhaktah pranashyati. My devotees shall not perish. What do you mean by perish? Here it is not, shall not die or something like that. Meaning, my devotees will reach me. Confidence is given by Bhagavan. In Upanishads it is given. In Bhagavad Gita, in all the Shastras, this affirmation from Bhagavan is, you will reach me. Don't worry. Now, Bhagavan Sri Ramchandra ji advises, gives the knowledge of the 9 forms of bhakti to Mata Shabari ji, and any of them according to our aptitude we may pick up. One must understand, Shabari ji is only a nimitta karanam. Bhagavan is giving this knowledge to all of us. And all of us, very interesting, not because we are devotees, in spite of what we are, Bhagavan says, no matter how you have been till now, take a U-turn and come. Whichever way, whichever path you want to pick up, pick up. As the saying goes, all roads lead to Bhagavan. And we have to pick up based on our quality and texture of thought. Which Bhagavan to pick up, that we are not going to discuss. You know it yourself according to your desire, according to your connectivity, according to your aptitude, according to our choice. And the instruction is, be firm, be committed, have conviction. Only then one can reach Bhagavan. There is a very beautiful story. The story says, it goes like story, it is an anecdote we may say. Here is a person who goes to a land, and then he digs 2 feet. Nothing happens. So he leaves it there, goes to another place and starts digging another 2-3 feet. Nothing happens. He leaves it there, comes on the other direction. Again he starts digging. Maybe around 20-25 places he must have dug. Nothing happened. Nothing will happen. Why nothing will happen? Because digging 2 feet and keep changing will not lead us anywhere. If you dig at the same place deeper and deeper and deeper, we will get water. That is called well. Is it not? You can't get water at 2 feet or 3 feet. You have to go deep at one point. Similarly, have commitment to one God and go deeper and deeper in my love towards that Bhagavan. You will find every thought of Bhagavan will take us one step ahead in the path of bhakti. Here in Tulsi Ramayana, Bhagavan now gives 9 ways of attaching our mind to Bhagavan. 9 ways of communication with Bhagavan. This we will see from tomorrow. The text has been sent through WhatsApp. Those of you who are associated with our ashram through WhatsApp, it has already been sent. We will also post it in Facebook, Sadhana Mandira page. Please download and we will meet tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.